Hi everyone, welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the films from 2022, the Octo Games. Without any further, let's get started. At the beginning of the clip, a man named Jax Pro had the brilliant idea to create a game called Octo Games, which was inspired by an octopus. Multiple participants would play 8 separate games until one emerged victorious. A group of 15 social media influencers who were chosen at random were called upon as the games officially began. One of the aspiring influencers, Carrie, was overjoyed to participate in a game hosted by the legendary YouTuber Jax Pro. The other guests were having a great time, with a TV and sets of cameras in front of them. Jax Pro's video appeared to explain the game rules, and when the announcement of a grand prize was announced, everyone was thrilled. The first game was called Simon Says, and it was a kids game that everyone thought was simple to play. After everything was in place, they started the first game. At first, everything was going according to plan, but then one of them made the terrible error of disobeying Simon's instructions. The player was devastated, believing he had lost out on the ultimate prize. But to his surprise, the price he paid for losing was his own life. Everyone was shocked by what they had seen, and their once happy grins were gradually being obscured by terror. When one of the players attempted to flee, she was likewise eliminated just ahead of the other players. When the other players realized they were in danger from the guard dogs, they were forced to continue playing the game in order to protect themselves. As the game went on, each assignment became more challenging, and the other players gradually died. As the game came to an end, leaving 8 players agitated and afraid, Jax Pro congratulated the surviving players as though it had been an amazing experience. The remaining players approached the camera one by one as instructed by Jax Pro. They had to follow him at all costs for their safety. Later, one of the guards brought the game's film to Jax Pro, who was ecstatic. He joyfully looked for his girlfriend Luna, but he felt bad for her because she was controlled by her followers. He said after everything was finished, they would move far away and begin a new life, free from the influence of their followers. After a short while, the remaining players were led to a room where they all changed into their formal clothes. As was to be expected, everyone was still in shock over what had happened. Some were angry, some were regretful, and some were trying to lighten the mood by encouraging one another, while some were still feeling down about their situation. However, this group also includes some cunning people. The older one, Walt, wanted to join forces with Squish and intended to take advantage of the good-hearted women. Even though Squish didn't want to make friends, he needed an ally to stay alive. As a result, the two teamed together, warning the other smart ladies. When the second game, Hopscotch, finally began, the rules were simple. If they moved after the lights turned red, they were out. When the first person was eliminated, which meant the game was over, the players were all anxious, but they must stay resilient to get over this obstacle. AJ was the first to go, and he was doing fantastically up until the lights turned red. At that point, one of the cunning people, Steven, whistled asking Walt a question. Still, the game proceeded without incident, and now it was Jess's turn as the fitness expert. When the light turned red, Squish whistled once more. Worried about Squish's actions, Walt and Carrie exchanged numbers, and then it was Sunny's turn. Everything went smoothly until the lights went red, at which point Sunny lost her balance. Steven whistled in the same tone when the lights changed color, which caused Sunny to lose the game and her teammates to be devastated. Carrie attempted to intervene but was hurt as a result, and everyone was eventually sent back to their waiting area. Walt came up to the dejected girls and offered to assist them defeat the evil Steven. Maxine was obviously dubious of the elderly man's offer, but Carrie accepted because of what had transpired. However, Ruth was at her games and was now searching for a powerful man to increase her chances of winning. To her dismay, the first man, AJ, flatly refused her provocations. No. The other women chuckled at her amusing acts as they witnessed her approach Squish next. However, Ruth was unaware that she was at a disadvantage, and as a result of her persistent bothering, Steven exploded, injuring Ruth. Following Steven's declaration of hatred and warning that they should never approach him again, The others attended to Ruth's injuries, and although the woman was furious over the incident, Carrie and Maxine formed an alliance with AJ as a result. However, they were unable to rest for very long as the third game was about to start. Meantime, Luna had been dealing with messaging the players' family to reassure them that everything was all right. Jack Pro then came up to Luna, anticipating his lavish retirement and the opportunity to get away, but it seems Luna had other ideas. The third game, which was named the obstacle course, had an added bonus. The player who finished in less than 60 seconds got to go home. Jess was tempted and volunteered right away, despite Ruth's doubts about her judgment. Little did she know that she would have to play tag with the terrified guard dog and still arrive on time, leaving the other players on their knees, waiting to see what would happen to her. After a while, Jess emerged, happy with her successes, but everyone was taken aback when the guards removed her, claiming she had over the allotted time. Despite the probability that she would survive, Carrie jumped and volunteered to go next, but before the game even began, she broke down in tears. She shared personal details of her life outside before the game's content began, and she won the hearts of the guard dogs. She did not play the game, and they were all led to the next one. Back in the players' room, there was an altercation between the two guards because one of them was acting strangely. In the meantime, Luna was acting strangely around Jack Pro. It turned out that she had arranged with one of the guards, and it seems that they were after her lover. When AJ went to Carrie that evening to search for a way out, the guard dog was standing on his territory, and then AJ tried to check the guards. He suddenly moved, scaring them both. So they ultimately backed down from their intentions. So as the fourth game, Musical Chair, started, this time, the lucky winner would receive a reward. With the announcement that the first person out would be removed, everyone gave it their all. Following the intense competition, Carrie became nervous as AJ was the first to be eliminated, and as he was led away, all of the other players carried on. Everyone was eliminated one by one until there were only two left. When Carrie's turn came to be escorted out, she was startled to see the other players who had been dismissed. It turned out that the loser between Steven and Ruth would be the one who would be formally eliminated. After they fought it out, with Steven showing no mercy at all, Walt suggested that they work together to overthrow Steven's dominance, and they all agreed.
I'm in.
All of the other players gathered in silence as the conflict came to an end. Fortunately, Ruth was still alive, and as a bonus, Jax Pro gave her a job as one of the guards, which she loved. Everyone was in complete chaos in their room, with Squish doubting Walt and the others feeling conflicted about what had happened. Soon after, Ruth showed up and gave them instructions to get ready. The fifth game was hide and seek, and everyone had less than a minute to hide. After the allotted time was up, the guard dog went looking for the players who had hidden. He was pursuing Carrie, but luckily, he turned his attention elsewhere. He was now after Squish, so Carrie took advantage of the situation to get away. When he was found, Squish fled right away and went into hiding with Maxine and Walt. In contrast, Carrie was still escaping when a guard found her. By the time the guard dog entered the room, Walt had already lured Maxine and the others hid while the guard dog attacked her. At the same time, Carrie was spared by the guards, but when she heard Maxine scream, she ran to her rescue. Unfortunately, she was too late. That night, Jax Pro and his lover Luna were having a great time. However, Ruth's arrival interrupted them, and although she found their intimacy bothersome, she did not mind because she knew her plans were about to fall apart. While the other players were completely lost and began blaming one another, Carrie was susceptible in this situation. Inside his home, Jax Pro appeared to be aware of Luna's plans and gave Ruth the order to kill the accomplice. The sixth game was Tetherball, which pitted two players against one another. AJ and Walt were up first, and after a fierce struggle, AJ won. When Steven and Carrie faced off in the second round, Carrie chose not to play and let Steven win. She had carefully prepared this and vowed to do everything in her power to defeat Walt instead, and as planned, she defeated him handily. In exchange for all the turmoil he caused, he received the same punishment. After seeing the horrific events, it came down to AJ and Carrie, who were now consoling each other. They were facing Squish and intended to win. On the night of the seventh game, Luna had sailed her plans, but as he nearly drank the deadly drink, Jax Pro sensed something wasn't right. He made her drink it to show his insight, but as soon as she fled, he realized that their relationship was over. As the two played catch, Luna feared for her life, but Ruth ultimately got rid of her. Jax Pro was completely taken aback by this and insisted that Ruth hand him the gun. However, he only wanted to make sure that his girlfriend was gone and blame her when the games went live. Jax Pro had no idea what he was going to do next, but as a result of Ruth's temptations, they came up with the brilliant idea of fleeing together. Soon after, the seventh game started. It was Hangman, and the winner would advance to the next round. At the start of the game, since Steven was making terrible decisions, it appeared that AJ and Carrie would win easily. But everything changed suddenly, and Steven ended up winning. Carrie was starting to grow upset about what might be coming to them, but AJ assured her that he would find a way. As it turned out, he intended to take the fall in order to save Carrie, but this made Carrie upset, so he tried to protest, and after an extended delay, AJ was killed. Out of a group of 15 players, only Steven and Carrie remained, and they were headed to the biggest showdown. Carrie, fed up with her guilt, snapped at Steven, wishing he had been the one removed rather than the others. But Steven became enraged by this and yelled at her to wake up. All she could do was wail and shake in terror. In the morning, Jax Pro called the guard dog to chastise him for the occurrence in the sixth game. But as he persisted in his nagging, he found out the other had the same tattoo. The guard dog, who saw this as a chance to get along with his idol, told Jax Pro about his life and complimented him on how he provided him a sense of purpose. However, Jax Pro felt that his infatuation was unneeded rather than a good thing. With his last call to Ruth, the guard dog was eliminated and the last game day had finally arrived. The traditional capture the flag game was played, with the winner being the first to do it. When it began, Carrie and Steven fled for their lives. Carrie touched the flag first, but Steven tackled her, causing her to release it. Carrie lost all hope of surviving, but eventually it turned out that what Steven had captured was a fake flag, and she saw the real one and chased after it right away. When she managed to get her hands on the genuine one, Steven was shocked to learn of his death. Ruth smiled contentedly as she said goodbye to her fatal enemy, and Steven was ultimately killed. Before Carrie could respond, the other guard rushed to her side and gave her a sedative injection, and she gradually drifted into a deep sleep. When she regained consciousness, she found herself at a strange house. Jax Pro had gone and kept his word, but Carrie had lost interest in the prize. Carrie was terrified when a mysterious guard appeared from upstairs, but he came calmly and declared her free. He even admitted that he was a fan of hers and then left her alone. Ken and Carrie called the police right away and told them everything. After 3 months, Carrie was gradually making her way to the large audience, but she felt that she had lost her true purpose. However, when she received an email with the video of the person who had caused her all of her problems, she realized that the games were not over. Thanks for watching, and remember to turn on your notifications to watch more movie recaps like this one.